Good evening. Please stand for a flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing when Councilman Sarah says the prayer.
Heavenly Father, we are truly grateful for this opportunity to serve our community. We ask that you watch over our meeting and that you guide our hearts and our minds that we may always make the best decisions for our community. Amen.
Amen. Okay, please be seated. Welcome, everybody, to our March 7th council meeting. Mayor Gunther is at a family affair tonight, and he will not be able to make it. As we usually start our meetings out, we have our executive sessions. And usually after the executive session, our attorney, Fred, will speak on what we've talked about in executive session.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. In executive session, the Deputy Mayor and Council discussed a contract issue dealing with shared services with Atlantic County. Specifically, the municipality is in discussion with Atlantic County about jointly funding a traffic study for Lighthouse Circle. Additional information will be made available on that when those negotiations are complete and the contract becomes available. Additionally, Council received a series of reports in regard to employee union contracts. The manager provided an update in regard to the dispatchers bargaining unit, the firefighters bargaining unit, and the supervisors bargaining unit. No decisions were made. Additional information will be made available on these as the three matters move forward. Under personnel, the manager provided a report to council. Manager advised council that Chief Bennett is retiring on April 1 of this year. The manager also advised that Officer Bill Strobe has been promoted to sergeant. And there was Brian Feehan.
Yes.
Brian Feehan has been appointed as the emergency management coordinator. Deputy emergency management coordinator. Also under personnel, the council discussed the hiring of an acting manager. Additional information on that matter will be made available this evening when council considers resolution 2018-55. Under litigation, my office provided an update in the litigation of Malone versus the City of Brigantine. I advised that certain new motions have been filed and that the trial date previously scheduled for March 12th has now been moved back by the court to the month of May. Additional information will be made available as that matter moves forward and reaches trial. That's it, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Cerny. We need approval of the 2/21/18 council and executive minutes. I need a motion and a second.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, Lynn, can I have a roll call, please?
View,
Yes.
Reardon,
Yes.
Haney,
Yes.
DeLucre,
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay, next we have approval of payroll and expenses, operating expenses. I need a motion and a second, please.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Any questions? See none? Can I have a roll call, please?
View,
Yes.
Reardon,
Yes.
Haney,
Yes.
DeLucre,
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Motion carried.
At this time, we're going to open up to the public comment, and anything on the agenda you want to speak about, come up, state your name, microphone. And I see nobody out there saying they want to come up there. I only see two people as it is. So we must be doing a good job. Okay, I'm going to close that portion. Next, we're going to talk about our GIF program, the incentive award we just got. I believe John Doring's going to talk about that. Mr. Simpson?
Yes, Deputy Mayor. This is an award from JIF, our Joint Insurance Fund. It is an award because our program does very well in terms of the safety precautions. Our safety coordinator is John Doran, and I'd like to turn it over to John to present this to council.
Okay, John?
Thank you. We received our Safety Incentive Program Award a couple weeks ago. We received excellent. Again, we've received excellent for 15 years due to a lot of hard work from our city manager, our department heads, Nick Manera, Ryan Hurst, who is our secretary, Pete Frugoli is our representative, along with Tiger, for the fire department, and Bill Hoffman from the police department. They keep all the records and forward them to us every year.
Heard John Doring does a good job, too.
Pardon me?
Heard John Doring does a good job, too.
It's all teamwork.
Okay.
Other than that, we stay safe every, year, and we got a nice award. Thank you.
$2,400?
Thank you.
$2,400.
$2,400
to be used.
And John does lead the group, and as John stated, it is a team effort. John is an excellent leader as a safety coordinator, and all the departments do a very good job, and John keeps great records, and all of that is what JIF wants to see. It's what we need to see, and we have an excellent safety committee that keeps us in a good position each year.
As you know, Ed, I know John would not put his name out there, and I know through you that he does a great job. And everything we do in the city, a great team, including this council, we do as a team. And I sure, appreciate your leadership and, devotion to our JIP program.
Thank you.
John. Okay, so we're going to start out with ordinance number 5 of 2018. Public hearing and adoption, amending Chapter 3, Article 5, Section 20, vacate. You want to bring that up, Ed, what we're doing here, and then I'll open it up to the public, please?
Yes, Deputy Mayor. This is the second hearing and public hearing, second reading and public hearing of an amendment to Chapter 3, Article 5, Section 20 of our code. It has to do with the city manager position, and essentially we are changing the language to read that City Council may appoint an acting city manager by resolution for a specific term.
Okay, thank you, Ed. Anybody from the public would like to come up and talk about this? Please come up, and I see no people from the public would like to talk about this. So anybody from the council would like to talk about it? Seeing none, can I have roll call, please?
I'll make the motion.
I'm sorry, who's going to make the motion? Gonna make a motion.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Okay, can we have roll call?
View,
Yes.
Reardon,
Yes.
Haney,
Yes.
DeLucre,
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
Simpson,
Yes.
motion carries.
Okay. Okay, ordinance number 6, 2018, public hearing and adoption, bond ordinance, approximately $2,910,000, authorizing issuing of $2,910,000 in school bonds and notes for various improvements and proposals. I need a first and a second on this.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Okay, as we talked last time about it, I'm on the school board of estimates. This is for HVAC systems that will replace all the schools in North School, and various, what do we want to call them, we're putting
marine grade
Marine grade
for the condensers that go outside to try to prolong
from the salt air, and, you know, and try to make them last longer. And it's something we have to do. It's an emergency situation. Some compressors are not working at all. Some areas we don't get HVAC at all. So it was unfortunate, but we have to do it. They're over 20 years old. So I would like to bring anybody up from the public that would like to speak on this ordinance. Seeing none, I bring it back to council. Anybody want any comments? Seeing none, can I have roll call?
View,
Yes.
Reardon,
Yes.
Haney,
Yes.
DeLucre,
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
Simpson,
Yes.
motion carried.
I'm going to deviate from the agenda since we're talking about the school at this time. Last week, we had a meeting, myself, the mayor, Police Chief Bennett, and Sergeant Brian Feehan, with Michelle, our new superintendent, at the schools down there. I asked for the meeting. I asked to, what happened down in Parkland never had happened here. I was trying to take the first step on keeping our kids safe, our students, our faculty, anybody that walks in that school should be safe. So we talked about a class 3, and I'll let Jim Bennett tell you what a class 3 is. I'll give you my version. Jim, you can clean it up.
Yes, sir.
Class 3 is a new police officer that's retired. He or she will be going into North School. We talked to the superintendent. She was very grateful that we would put a police officer there all year round, even though Jim's officers go in there on a daily basis. But this person will actually work there, and that would be their permanent position, work in school. I'm also going to ask the city clerk to move the election booths out of there and move them into possibly the country club. See what the process is.
Country Club, because they have a liquor license there. That's why we had to move it from there.
Okay, well, we're going to have to find a spot. I don't want a lot of people going in and out of that school unsecured, and so we should find a spot, even if we have to double up in City Hall somehow. So we'll find out could we just expend our liquor license for a day there? Because we'll just shut it down from any liquor or anything like that. Maybe Fred can work on that?
We can look at the requirement that causes all this and see if there is a way to manage it. And if not, we may need an alternative, but entry level, we'll take a look at it.
Okay, and then work with our city clerk and see what we can do at that particular time. It's a Tuesday on June that I think we should actually be able to move our election booths into another piece of property the city has that doesn't involve our children. So, Chief, would you go over the meeting, what we talked about in the meeting?
Okay, Deputy Mayor. To expand on what Deputy Mayor Simpson said is, one of the things that he brought up right away that a lot of other schools have begun to use are the Class 3 police officer. They are a special law enforcement officer, similar in stature to the Class 1s and Class 2s we currently have. The difference being these officers have to have been retired for no more than 3 years upon the date of their appointment. They are fully vested, fully powered police officers. They can effect any type of arrest, enforce any type of laws. There's virtually no limit to their power. They can even leave the school if need be, whereas a school resource officer or security guard is going to be limited to, one specific spot. As the deputy mayor said, they fall under the purview of the police department for training and qualifications with their weapons, but they are employees of the school, for lack of a better term. They will spend their 8 or their 9-hour day at the school, completing whatever tasks the school administration deems necessary, be it, monitoring security cameras, patrolling the hallways, interacting with the children. Some schools use them to, excuse me, give safety presentations or lectures. There's a variety of things that they're used for. The most important thing is that there's somebody there whenever their children are present. They earn on an average between $20 and $25 an hour. I spoke with the school business administrator earlier in this week, and he gave me some guidance. We came up with a series of figures based on a 40-hour work week. Now, we all know that the teachers in the schools don't often work on that 40-hour work week. Some are a little bit more. We also didn't take into account any of the holidays or closings or conferences, anything like that. So figuring on a 40-hour work week at $25 an hour, obviously we're looking at about $1,000 a week, all the way up to $52,000 a year for a 12-month employee. On the low end, you're looking at $800 a week, up to about $41,000 a year for a 12-month full-time employee. Now, that full-time doesn't necessarily have to be one officer. As a matter of fact, I'd recommend against that. I'd recommend getting 2, possibly 3, and use them part-time and allow them to work up to that 40 hours or 160 hours a month or that total figure that we have. That way, if somebody calls out, we're going to have coverage and you'll have backup. And again, the theory behind it is, as we talked about with the deputy mayor and the superintendent, whenever there's children there, we have at least one officer there, and our officers in the police department will continue to do their same thing. So if there is a after-school program where the kids are still there, our guys are going to be there till it closes. If they're off, but they have kids, if the school's closed, they have kids in the gym for something, the officer will be there that particular day. They don't get benefits. They don't pay into any pension program. It's just a straight hourly rate, no overtime, no anything. Any questions?
I'm thinking about what Andy had said about moving the voting booths. Could that person be designated to be right there in that lobby the entire time, just in case it can't get moved, say, before this June primary?
They could be. One of the other things that we all discussed at the meeting with the school administration was putting up a better barrier than what they have right now. I'm sure you remember in years past they had a physical metal barrier that could close down. They had the gym locked and the auditorium locked, and you couldn't go anywhere but that entrance where the voting booths are. I don't know why that isn't there anymore, but the simple answer would be to put that back in place.
Right.
It may be a fire issue, I don't know, but the answer to your question is yes. You could do that. They would still have to be there under the guise of protecting the children, not working the election itself, because their duties are limited strictly to school safety.
Or even could you have an officer detailed in there?
We could, and one of the things we talked about, again, was is our manpower levels. If we come to work that morning and there's only 4 guys or 4 girls, and we pull one of them off, now you have to bring somebody in for overtime.
Right.
Paying somebody $100 an hour to work for a couple of hours, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I think the best bet would be to use the Class 3s as much as we can.
Right.
And during the June elections, school's open. So that would be a perfect time for him to take care of business, assuming that the school has all their doors locked and all the rest of their security taken care of.
Right. Thank you.
Yes. Sir.
Chief, you mentioned that the Class 3s don't get benefits, I assume health benefits and the regular package of benefits that anybody else who works for the school might have, either through their collective bargaining agreement or otherwise. Is that something that's a statutory provision?
Well, they have to be retired, which means they're collecting a police and fire retirement system pension, so they cannot go back into that system. And thanks to the 2007 law, there's no more double dipping. So they can't pay into any other type of a pension system. And the only way we would be required under law, and that's under the ACA, to provide them health benefits is if one particular employee worked more than 1,580 hours in a given year. And that's not a calendar year, that's from the date of their first day of employment for that year.
Okay, so that could be triggered if you have them in for 50, 52 weeks a year.
It could. That's why one of the reasons I recommended having 2 or 3 rather than relying on a single person and saying, okay, listen, here it is, July, you've got to go because we don't want to pay you benefits. You roll them both out, which is similar in process to what we do with our part-time dispatchers. We had one in the past who regularly bumped up against that 1,580 hours because he was one of the few, but now we've added enough in there to help bump the coverage up and keep those numbers down.
And the idea is to have, even if there's only a couple of children in the building during the summertime for whatever programs they might have, to always have that armed person in the building?
Yes, sir. Even if it's only for a couple of hours. If there's a school program going from 8 to noon or noon to 4 o'clock, you have that officer in there because, their procedures and processes change when they don't have a full staff at the school, so who knows, what's going to be open, what's not going to be open. There'll be people coming in and out that folks may not recognize. Whereas now, you pretty much don't get into the school unless you hit that buzzer and they recognize your face and let you in, so.
I understand. I'm certainly not opposed to it. Just seems like there are any number of places where groups of children could be found gathered together for whatever purposes throughout the town, and, be impractical or impossible.
That's absolutely true. The Smile Factory is one perfect example in the summertime. Up the arcade up here across from Andres, there are large groups of children. However, it's not an enclosed area, and there's usually one of our officers floating around someplace, even if it's just his car and he's a block or 2 away walking through. One of the big things in our business is having a presence. That deters a lot of stuff. And unfortunately, in Florida, it didn't work. Maybe the guy knew that the cop wasn't anywhere near the place, but the presence is a huge deterrent. So in the open areas, out in the public, I don't want to say we're not as concerned about it, but we have our officers out there. Whereas in the school, where they may be in the gym or an auditorium or even in classrooms where you have people being able to roam the hallways, I think it would be prudent to have somebody in there.
Thanks.
Yes, sir?
Any other questions for the chief?
I'd just like to say, Deputy Mayor, that was an excellent explanation you gave, Chief.
Thank you, sir.
And there's the immediacy of having someone right there and the deterrent of having it right there on the spot. There's no replacement for that. So, and it's reasonably cost effective, I'd say. So, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Well, Dennis spoke, so Mike, you have to speak.
I'm good.
Okay. Ed and Roxanne, what would be the process to hiring a new officer? This officer also is going to be regularly in with the police department, additional officer that the city of Brigantine will pay for, not the school. School, I believe we
That's what you said.
have enough money in our
School.
budget
Oh.
to pay for this officer, and even if they got benefits, whatever, I feel that if we're going to protect our children, this is a small price to pay, and people who work in that building. So it's a great thing, and whatever we have to do, we have to put the money in the budget. Ed, before you leave, or pass it on to Roxanne, work with Fred if we have to, do any ordinance or anything like that.
We'll start by meeting with the chief and go over the hours and estimated costs, and so we'll look at what that cost is going to be, and then we'll come up. Roxanne will come up with ways to fund it in the budget. So the first step is we have to meet with the chief and look at what we're talking about in terms of schedules and numbers and costs.
Is anybody's not in favor of this on this council right now?
It's a sad state of affairs that we have to
It
do
is.
this, but
All
It's
Gotta be
necessary.
proactive,
It's necessary.
you know, with
That's
this
it.
day and age.
Yep.
One question I had was, have we had any kind of experiences in the past with anyone causing any disturbances in the school?
Sure.
We have nothing to the extent of gunfire or even threats like that. We have had some ugly child custody issues where, you know, a non-custodial parent has come in and attempted to take the child away from the school. Many
Every
years.
school has it. Yeah.
Yeah, so the
We
after-school
might have-
program.
They might have said that down in Parkland too, because
Yeah.
Parkland was a place, I don't know if Councilwoman, you had played Parkland Golf Course. I played the course. I actually wanted to have a second home there because it was absolutely gorgeous. I mean, my wife looked down there. Parkland was, you know, it's apple pie as anything. It was beautiful, it was clean, it was everything that Brigantine is too. So, don't say it can't happen in Brigantine. But Chief, you have some more words, please?
I have one more quick comment, just for the general public and for council and city administration. These officers, speaking of the hiring process, these officers that we would hire would go through the same process that any officer does to get hired. They would be given a physical test, they'd be given a psychological test, and then they would have to go to the range and pass the same qualification that we do and that our Class 2 officers have to do. There's no shortcuts with these. They're 100% fully trained, and they're governed by the Police Training Commission, which is why we have to have them in under 3 years of retirement time.
How about uniform-wise? Will it be undercover, you know?
No, uniform-wise, and I've seen a mix of both. Some wear full Class A uniforms, but most of them wear what you see me wearing, the khakis with a polo shirt, and instead of the American flag, it says Class 3 Special Officer on it, and everything's embroidered.
And you don't believe that it would affect the children in any way, since you guys are usually there every day anyway?
No, I think if anything, it would be a great help. We started a couple of years ago making sure we had officers in there every day. Selfishly, I started it about 8 years ago when my daughter was in kindergarten, just so I could get to know her kids that she was with. And it's something as I progressed through my ranks in the department that I pushed for even harder. And now we have officers in there every day, whether it's at lunchtime, whatever. The benefits are almost undescribable. It's really nice to see the interaction with the kids when you're off duty. If you're in Acme, the kids will, come up, the little kids will come up and give you a hug, and Mommy, this is Officer Bennett, or this is Officer so-and-so. They came to my class, or they sat and had lunch with us today. And the kids are more apt to come and talk to us. So if they see an officer in there who looks just like us and who's going to be one of us, every day, all day, he's going to become a part of their daily life, just like a teacher or a student, a fellow student would.
The only thing I would ask, since government moves slowly, I'm not saying our government, does government in general move slowly, more than likely we will not see this officer in there before the end of the school year.
No, sir. There is a process we have to follow, and it's not a quick one. Fortunately, we have the mechanisms in place now with our current hiring practices to get most of it taken care of.
I would like to see if you can get more patrol officers to go through the school during the day, so there's a presence there. It's a soft target, and we don't want our children or the faculty or anybody to ever get hurt over there over a few dollars. So.
I agree. They're there every day, 2-3 times a day. For those of you that know Officer Powderly, Officer Jimmy, he's there as much as his call load allows him. He's there more than just once a day. He'll spend hours there if we allow him to do that, which we do, because like I said, the benefits are immeasurable.
Well, thank you. Anything more? I saw you guys hitting the buttons over there.
We were talking about our process, so we'll meet with the chief, we'll start looking at the numbers. Fred reminded me that we'll have to do an amendment to our salary ordinance to create the position of Class 3. So there's steps that we have to do as well,
Okay.
but we'll start at least with meeting with the chief.
So it looks like the 2018-2019 year, start in September, hopefully. you know.
I think for sure.
Yeah, okay, because we need this officer in there and to keep our children in the school protected.
Just one last thing, with respect to the thought about moving the polling place, it sounds to me, from what I'm hearing, that whenever the Class 3 comes together and we have somebody physically positioned in the school on a full-time basis, until that time, it sounds like we certainly could, with the existing patrols that already go through the school, and if necessary, you know, have somebody assigned on election day just to be there, that we could cover that without having to go through the headache of trying to
That's
find
what-
Right,
a new
right.
place that
That
doesn't
was going to
exist.
be my next suggestion, Rick.
We can do that. We'll have our special officers will be out of the academy by then, our Class 2s and our Class 1s. So we'll have additional officers ready by Memorial Day weekend for the June election time.
But again, we still should look at seeing if we can move it, because we just don't want to tie up our officers down there. Where we can go, if we can go into the country club and do it there and see what the regulations is with the ABC. So maybe we can have some results back by our next meeting. Okay. Well, thank you, everybody, for that, and allow me to deviate from our agenda. So,
Thank you for pursuing that.
yeah, good job. I think we're on, yeah, okay. Resolution 2018, that's a typo on there. /51, ACIA Community Development Block Grant Program. Hey, you want to give us some information on that, please?
I would. Thank you, Deputy Mayor. We participate with the Community Development Block Grant Program every year. This is administered by Atlantic County Improvement Authority. This is a 2017 award. It's for roughly $30,000, and it is to replace the corners along Beach Avenue with accessible ramps. So it's a continuation of our ADA program. We've completed Ocean Avenue in the past with CDBG money, and we're moving up to Beach Avenue, and we'll work through that till we complete Beach Avenue.
Okay.
Ed, how much coverage do you think we can get for that kind of money, or is this just a portion of the money that we have for the
Ed,
project?
can we have a first and second on this?
Sorry.
Then we go there. I need a first and second on this.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Okay. Rick?
Same question.
There you go.
So it will not complete it at all. Later, under council manager discussion, I am going to inform council that we are also receiving a New Jersey Department of Transportation municipal aid grant to do the same work along Beach Avenue. So that is a $70,000 grant. So between the two of them, we hope to get most of at least West Beach done.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions from council? Can we have a roll call then?
View,
Yes.
Reardon.
Yes.
Haney.
Yes.
Jalupri.
Abstain.
Sarah.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay, I'm going to need a first and second on Resolution 2018/52, charitable roadway solicitation, police fundraiser for fallen officers. First and second, please.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Jim, you want to talk about that? The, fundraiser for the fallen officers that you have up there?
This is, Deputy Mayor, this is something that we do pretty much every year.
Right.
And it goes for the, it's part of the Police Unity Tour, and the Police Unity Tour is a charitable event where they ride their bicycles from their various departments down to the Police Law Enforcement Memorial in Washington. They solicit donations, and any funds that they collect go into a larger fund that is distributed to the family members and surviving spouses, significant others of officers who were killed in the line of duty, from college tuition funds to helping their mortgages, whatever they need.
I believe this is a great fundraiser for for terrible cause, you know. And if you're one of those officers that went out that day and never came back, that's a terrible thing to have. It's something great that we're doing for it.
Thank you.
I appreciate your old department for doing that.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions?
Andy, I just, obviously, it is an excellent cause, and I can say just being a former law enforcement, retired law enforcement guy, there's been a number of guys on the job that I've been familiar with and that I knew and that lost their lives, and so often we think of like a gun battle or something like that, but Chief, so many of them are traffic accidents. They just get out there and in a heartbeat, something awful happens. So it's good just to, it's an excellent support mechanism, and I hope you do very well. Thanks.
Thank you, Dennis. See no other, can we have roll call?
You,
Yes.
Reardon,
Yes.
Haney,
Yes.
DeLucre,
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
Simpson,
Yes.
motion carried.
Okay, I'm going to need a first and second on the resolution 2018/54, award of a contract animal control of South Jersey. I skipped one, I'm sorry. I crossed it out first. Resolution 2018/53, the cancellation of grant balance and for improvements and authorization. Need a first and second.
So moved.
Second.
Roxanne, you want to explain this?
Yes, Deputy Mayor, this is an effort to continue to clear up the balance sheet of one of the capital fund for the city. It relates to a 2004 improvement authorization where the improvement to be made was partially funded by a grant. That project has been completed. We've had the receivable and the grant balance on our books since then, and it needs to be canceled. It will never be received.
We'll probably have to fix it before we, again, 14 years ago.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
just a matter of cleanup. I don't like to have a lot of the mess on.
Any
Because then
questions
I
by
got to keep
council?
track of it.
Hearing none, can we have roll call then?
You,
Yes.
Reardon,
Yes.
Haney,
Yes.
DeLucre,
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
Simpson,
Yes. Resolution 2018/54, award of a contract for animal control of South Jersey. I need a first and second, please.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, have we talked about this? It's the same contract we had last year, the same amount?
That is correct, Mayor, and same company, they do a fine job.
Okay. Any question by council?
This is a flat fee. You don't get charged extra if they come out more times than 1 month. Okay. Okay.
I'm assuming, but tell me if I'm wrong, that their jurisdiction would end at the boundary of the North End natural area?
Yes, sir. You are correct.
Okay. And, I mean, because animal control, I suspect, might be a topic during our public session tonight. What's the practice in general for our animal control people? You know, if they're called in, or, well, let me ask differently. Are they ever called in to deal with foxes, rabbits, opossums, raccoons?
Yes. Animal control goes through the Department of Public Works in conjunction with the police department. A resident has an issue, usually they call the police department dispatches animal control to, we've responded to raccoons, squirrels, you name it. We have had a couple incidences with fox in people's backyards, but by the time animal control has gotten here, they've been gone. And they're usually at night.
Mm-hmm. And when they encounter an animal that has to be dealt with, is that is the approach to that to trap and remove rather than, you know, to put it down? Or?
Yeah, no, they trap and remove. They have a It depends on what it is. There's a shelter offshore that even takes raccoons. You're welcome.
Okay. Can we have roll call, please?
You,
Yes.
Reardon,
Yes.
Haney,
Yes.
DeLuca,
Yes.
Sarah,
Actually, I just have one question. Is this for a 2-year term? Because it says 2-year term, and I know last year, I think we did a 1-year, if I remember. It's in the second whereas.
I believe it was the 1 year and 1 year. So we have to renew it again. I might be wrong.
Yeah, that's what I was asking, like if that was worded correctly. I just noticed it now.
I'm hoping it's for 2 years at that price.
Possibly the 2-year contract.
Yeah.
So it is for 2 years.
Is it a 2-year contract? Okay, that's perfect, just making sure. Yes.
see you. Simpson,
Does anybody else has a problem with the 2-year term before we continue our vote? Okay. Yes, 2 year, 1 year, good for me.
motion carried.
I'm going to deviate from our agenda again. I was at the meeting the other night when State of New Jersey did not deny that they actually killed the foxes with poison. Not because they're foxes, not because they're anything more than just an animal, and I don't know if the state of New Jersey has the right to play God to see who lives or dies down at North End. If they were trapping them and putting them someplace else, I wouldn't have a problem with that. I believe that a dog could get off its leash, run up there, eat some poison, and possibly kill the dog. I believe my children, my grandchildren, could possibly run up on the dune and see something there and possibly put it in their mouth, and one of my grandchildren could possibly pass away because of the irresponsibility of the state of New Jersey. It's appalling to me. It's not because it's a fox, it's not because it's a whatever. I know Mr. Tivoli out here is going to say something about it, about the possums and everything else. We all have to live together. A human life is not worth moving or killing a fox because it's eating a egg or something like that. They have to build a better bird trap, or bird cage, as it may be, to protect the piping clovers. They have to do a better job. Just like we said, we would do a better job if you can show us what we were doing wrong and there was nothing they could show us that we were doing wrong. It's uncalled for, and I would ask our solicitor to look into it about not allowing anybody to transport poison across our beaches to kill or maim anything. I don't know what kind of resolution, but hopefully by the next time we get back into session, that we would have some kind of answer if we could stop. I don't care if it's the federal government, the state of New Jersey, Peter Rabbit, I don't care. It's uncalled for. It's disgusting. I had an email sent to me. Family was down the observation tower. They took a walk through the dunes where it was a trail, and they saw a pile of dead dogs, according to them. They realized after I was on the Don Williams show the other day, talking about these foxes, they realized they were foxes. And their children was so upset about seeing either the dead dogs or the foxes, whatever that animals were piled up down there, like we're back in a concentration camp. It was unbelievable. So I asked this council if we can come up with some kind of idea to take the poison away from whoever's poisoning these foxes, do a catch and release. And if they have to come down and, because if the fox or any other animal is sick, they have to go through the police force department first before they're allowed to go down there with any poison, any darts, anything like that to make our island a lot better place to live in. So if we can come to an agreement on that, I think Brigantine would be a better place to live.
I think one of the things you got to take a look at too is also the use of snare traps. And I think that was most concerning. And for people who were at the meeting, you saw the shock in the room. There was a woman who came up and asked the question if the DEP was using snare traps and poisons to eradicate the foxes. And the DEP kind of stumbled a little bit, and they answered yes, and there was a gasp amongst the entire room. You know, you're talking about, in one instance, you have a state agency who is advocating for the protection of our environment, for the protection of the wildlife that lives out there. And then the next instance is talking about how they are just eradicating another. You know, they tried to justify it, they tried to say that it was, you know, that the foxes were a predator and it was a predator, and for them that they were okay with doing that to predators, and it's wrong. There's a humane way to handle the situation. The DEP needs to be held accountable. You know, if anything, I think we need to, if we can, pass a resolution to let them know that we are against it. And I know we can't stop them on state land, but it's got to be very, very clear that what they're doing is wrong. And I think it's something that needs to be made very public.
Thank you, Councilman. Anybody else have a comment on this?
I think
Just
everything.
that these, I was just going to say, they're symbolic with our island. It's it really, I mean, I live in this same area where Linda's mother is, where Linda grew up, and I don't see any of the foxes around anymore. I'm wondering what happened to them myself. We used to see them all the time. So, yeah, I'd like to see something done about this in a positive way.
Even if they were a danger to humans, which I don't know if we had any calls on any, there's a way of moving the animals to someplace else where they could also live on this earth. And it's appalling. It really is appalling to me to hear from a family and saying they were stacked up dead dogs, but they were actually foxes, after they poisoned them and just left them there, their carcasses there. So other animals could eat them, and the poison in the systems in the foxes would kill them too. New Jersey DEP does a great job on a lot of things for us, you know, but this isn't one of them. Sorry, Gary.
I think after the meeting that we had last week on social media, it was really blowing up. People were just as upset about the foxes as they were about not having access to the north end. And just so many people were commenting on the killing of these animals unnecessarily. So I think people are just as upset about
This
that
council can't let
as
this
not
go
being
by.
able to go up there. I agree.
Yeah, I just can't let it go by and it becomes an old story. Because no matter what animal is down there, you know, it's uncalled for to have carcasses just laying on top of each other in piles, and it disgusts me. Sorry.
And like you said, that other animals can go and eat them,
Yeah.
the birds, the seagulls.
Birds, seagulls,
Yeah, the osprey. I'm not sure what they eat, but
Oh, like the one letter said from someone that you're leaving dead animals up there that you've poisoned, which is repulsive, and then you have eagles or other birds that are going to eat those poisoned animals and then get poisoned themselves.
that's why DDT was outlawed many years ago, because the birds were ingesting it.
So,
Well,
agreed.
everybody up here agrees, there's no question. We were all there last week. You know, what was done, leaving aside the other issues, you know, procedural issues and the issues about access, but just in terms of what was done to the foxes and other animals up there in the name of defending another species, you know, the way it was done is grotesque, it's indefensible. But let's be smart here about what, where we should be directing our resources and our energy. It is state land, it's state-controlled land. We're not going to be able to compel them to do or not do something by any legal power that we have, because we don't have that. Is it possible that, through raising public opinion and outrage that, they could be, when I say they, I mean DEP, could be moved to adopt different procedures? That's a possibility. Is there a possibility that we could kind of backdoor through some kind of resolution to restrict their ability to travel through our town with poison or traps or whatever? I don't think that's realistically possible. What we could do, and I'm not saying this is going to work because we don't have a lot of cards in this particular game, but it may be possible if we as council go directly to the DEP, because we are, I assume, still in negotiations of some type with them about all of the questions relating to the use of the North End. Go to them and say, because we're on the right side on this, that you simply cannot, DEP, you cannot eradicate these animals, even if DEP's position isn't going to change, and I suspect it wouldn't, that their primary mission is to protect the nesting areas and the species. And if they've identified predators that they must get rid of, I don't think we're going to change that. But the way in which they get rid of them, there have to be alternatives. So let's see if we can't bring to them alternatives from people who know, maybe people who do trapping, people who understand how these animals, how foxes and other alleged predators operate, and what we can do to give DEP kind of a guide to how they can and should be handling things in the North End, so that they don't end up doing what apparently was done in this case, which is an obscenity.
Thank you, everybody. It was something that's been on my mind since that lady at the meeting spoke. When the person from the DEP did not deny that they were trapping with snares and then poisoning these animals. We as a city, as a government, I feel that our responsibilities are keep the city clean, keep it safe, and keep it affordable. I don't think that's keeping our city safe. Just like you say, the raccoons and squirrels go down there, we talked about that earlier in our executive session, and they're eating these carcasses, and they're getting the poison too. And it's, the state of New Jersey, United States of America, does not have the right to choose who dies and who doesn't. So I'm not saying there's sometimes you have to kill animals just because they're sick or whatever. The humane way to doing it. So if we can keep that in mind and send a message or a resolution that they can't transfer poison across our beaches, we'll make sure the next chief will take care of that. So thank you for that. I'm sorry I got off the topic, and but it was just something that came up. I know, Linda, you're going to be talking about it at our public comments. Okay, resolution 2018/55, approval of the acting city manager's contract.
I'll make the
First and
motion.
second.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Okay, comments from the council, please, if any?
Roxanne, you still with us?
Speak now or forever
Yeah.
hold your peace.
Well, let's make sure she signs it. Roxanne's is going to be our temporary manager, and we're going and hope she, I think everything's good. I think Ed put a great plan in place for you to guide you through anything that that comes up. I know Ed's, you know, some stormy weather, and he got through that and made it better. The city of Brigantine's better because they had Stinson. So his plan in place, you keep those tools going, I think you'll be a outstanding city manager, and I know you're an outstanding CFO, and I'll take you for anybody in the state of New Jersey on that point.
Yeah, we appreciate you stepping up and
Yes.
taking on the extra duty there. You're phenomenal. Thank you.
Do you have Ed on speed dial?
I certainly do, and I really can't say enough about the pleasure it's been working with Ed. He's been a wonderful, wonderful leader and has made so many great decisions for the city, and he is definitely a very hard act to follow.
Okay, can we have a roll call, please?
Hugh,
Yes.
Reardon,
Yes.
Amy,
Yes.
Delivery,
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
Simpson,
And yes, and welcome to the club.
motion carried.
Okay. 2018/56, real estate tax refund. Need a first and second?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Any questions? See none? Can I have roll call then?
Hugh,
Yes.
Reardon,
Yes.
Amy,
Yes.
Delivery,
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
Simpson,
Yes.
motion carried.
Okay, come to our consent agenda. St. Andrews by the Sea Lutheran Church beach request. Now, this is one we're going to have to talk about. I think the next one we're going to have to talk about just what's going on down on the north end. Surf and Land Fishing Club fishing tournament request. We at this time can't promise them to go past the 1,500 feet, so how are we going to address that?
So I'll ask Lynn to notify them if council approves this tonight, that it's approved condition on the city of Brigantine beaches. So from essentially the observation tower south. And if there's an issue on their end, then we'll bring it back to council. But we don't have the authority to offer
At this
north
particular
of the observation tower.
Okay.
And are you okay with the temporary beach pass in this letter? Okay.
Okay, we still have the Marine Mammal Training Center Animal 5K Run/Walk request. Marine Mammal Training Center Summer Program Beach request. The Greater Atlantic Cancer Fund raffle license number 840. The American Legion raffle license number 841. And the Philadelphia Outriggers request. I need a first and a second.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Okay, motion passed, and I don't think we need roll call.
That outrigger request looks pretty cool. Did you read about
Yeah, I
that?
saw that, yeah.
Wow.
Okay, we're coming to our council managers meeting at New Jersey DOT Municipal Aid Grant. Mr. Simpson, take it away.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. We talked briefly about this during our discussion on resolution for the Atlantic County Improvement Authority grant. So this is a municipal aid grant offered by the Department of Transportation. We applied this year to do accessible curb ramps along Beach Avenue along with the ACI grant. So this is a $70,000 municipal aid grant, and it will work towards making our corners more accessible to all individuals. So you'll have, more information will come. We just received that notice of award earlier this week, so I wanted to bring it to council's attention.
So both grants are going for cutout on the curbs for disabled
That is correct.
curbs, to
That
cut
is-
out on the curbs.
For accessible ramps, that's
Right,
correct.
yeah.
Yes. Also wanted to bring council's attention to the fact that our paving project that council awarded a month or so ago has begun. They are starting down, the contractor is Lexa Concrete. They are starting work down on Bayshore Avenue by the intersection of Harbor Beach Boulevard. So they will be working up one side of Bayshore Avenue to 38th Street, and then they will come back on the ocean side of Bayshore Avenue, work their way back to Harbor Beach Boulevard. Then that will be tightened up. Then they'll move to Bayshore Avenue at Roosevelt Boulevard, and they will work one side of the street to the Elks, switch over and come back. That'll happen in maybe about 2.5 weeks or so, weather permitting. Then they have some other smaller work, and then you'll see the paving. So just wanted to be aware that the contract has started. Concrete's the first phase, and then the asphalt will be the last phase, probably sometime in late April. And then finally, I don't really have much to say about the beach fill. We've all seen it, I'm sure, not seen it. And with the pending Northeaster coming after the weekend, we may not see it for even till after that. Right? So
We get a warranty on that thing?
yeah, so the one thing that we learn may not be much comfort right now, but the sand that does erode during these storms from that beach fill gets deposited right offshore, and it will work its way back onto the beach further south, but it will come back. So it's not a net loss to the city of Brigantine. However, it is a loss in that immediate area. Army Corps will still fill to that template, but to the design template, but there is some erosion, obviously, from the last Northeaster and from this Northeaster.
But thankfully, it was there, or the ocean would have been in the Pirates Den and
That-
all
that-
those homes right along there.
Very possibly would have been around the seawall again.
Right.
Yes.
Can I just go back to the outrigger approval we just did? In the last paragraph, under where it says food, it said, understanding that the city may have prohibitions on the sale of food on or near the beach, they're willing to apply for and pay for any permitting necessary, for example, hire food trucks to park in the roads near the beach or to maintain food vendor tents on the beach. Next to the last page.
So generally, this is the first year they're expanding it to multiple days. In the past, they've had it for shorter times, and it has worked very well and without incident. We're not approving food vending, but John works with them very closely, and for them to have a tent that provides food to their participants is, in my opinion, a different matter than bringing a food vending truck down
Right,
there.
well, and then
doing
it
that.
says, or to maintain food vendor tents on the beach,
Right.
so,
So
as long as
they-
you're aware of that, okay.
They work very well with John and with the police department and with the beach patrol,
Mhm.
and we expect that same cooperation again this year.
Thank you.
Just want to get a follow-up on the bus shelters. We take turns.
I'm trying to remember that we received an email back maybe a month and a half ago.
Summer, late summer?
The hope was late spring, and I haven't heard that it is not going to be late spring. They had to go through their legal department with those agreements, and remember the email that I forwarded, which was maybe December or January, said we just went through legal, and we're ready to now start into planning the installation. So I'll reach out to them tomorrow, to him tomorrow, and I'll get an answer on what the anticipated install date is.
All the piles of stuff, you're gonna get Roxanne, make sure that's one of them, please.
You got it.
Mike, you have any comments or anything, or any announcements?
Oh, yeah, yeah. This Saturday,
Oh, yeah.
the St. Patrick's Day Parade on the boardwalk in Atlantic City kicks off at 1 o'clock by the Showboat. Brigantine Joe Crilly is the Grand Marshal. That's great. The Elks are providing a service there at, I guess, around 10:30, 11. They'll have a bus going over. You have to kind of sign up beforehand, and it's open to members and guests over there, but there's plenty of members that'll, you know, if anybody wants to come on over and join the crowd, and we'll be on the boardwalk, and it's tremendous. It's good-
Mike, how
good time.
does floats go up and down the boardwalk?
Deputy Mayor Simpson has volunteered to have his van pull the Brigantine Elks float up the boardwalk.
And what's the
So
band's
graciously.
name? What's the band's name? I forget.
Something like Bootleggers. Yeah.
Okay.
Bootleggers van is pulling the boardwalk. Yeah. So, and he's, I think it's coming stocked, so, yeah.
And council, all council, including you, Rick, is welcome to go sit in the back of the bootleggers van and count how many
I think it's a hack shack
Yinglings are
violation.
going out
isn't
or
Yeah.
whatever.
But,
Yeah, you should have a good time, Bob.
yeah, Joe, you know, it was a long, Joe was one of the founders of the parades, and, in 1986, and for whatever reason, you know, he's Grand Marshal now, and everybody's happy about it, and well-deserved, so, that's that.
Dennis, Mike talked to you. I know you need it.
Well, as far as the recreation goes, the Brigantine Hockey League just finished up with their tournament this past weekend, and it was packed down there. There was tons of cars. I'm sure Chief Bennett and all our other officers, they were down there. They had a good presence out there, just passive, and everybody was well behaved. I mean, hockey, you always get some emotions flowing, but everything worked out well. There was a lot of people talking about where they stayed. There was a lot of money spent in our town. I know that for sure. I could hear people left and right, and I was just chit-chatting with a few people. People were like renting places here in the island and staying at different places and talking about different restaurants.
It was amazing.
It was. Mike was down there referencing some games. I was down there, helped out, and there was some really good hockey.
Teams.
We're gonna, pardon me? I was just
don't
gonna,
mean to interrupt you, but I was just saying the teams from Philly, Pottstown,
yeah, Reading.
North
Reading, we had
Jersey.
some teams coming from all over, yeah.
No bad calls, right, Mike?
Yeah, big
Oh,
balls.
not with me, there wasn't.
Like it. But, go ahead, Dan, I didn't-
Hey, our Penguin A team, they pulled off something that I can't really recall in recent memory if it's happened, where we had these teams like Belmar and Marlton, and these kids can play some ball hockey. They are excellent street hockey players. And they defeated the Penguin, our Brigantine Penguin A team, defeated the Belmar A team and the Marlton A team, and then Gloucester, which has put some good teams out there. So really, tip of the hat to them. I think we're going to be having them in here. So that was really great for the kids. All their schoolmates came running out to the court afterwards, and it was really good stuff. So that was good to see. And I just wanted to say, not to belabor anything, but we were talking about having the Class 3 officer and everything. I mean, obviously, it's sad, like, we go back to when we were all children, and just the thought of having, like, a regular police presence was just something that more or less just wasn't there, you know? But in today's day and age, with the things going on now, we have to have that. Or I say, you know, maybe I shouldn't say we have to have it, but people, you know, school districts are gearing themselves towards having that certain type of presence just to ensure their children's safety. There's nothing more precious than our children. I will say that an asset to that is that administrators and teachers, obviously, they need to do what they need to do. And from my time as a trooper, I just know that all the different schools that we were responsible for and all the different townships that I worked in over the years, just having a contact there, it's just maybe familiar and in tune with things, is a good thing. Obviously, it's going to be hands-on with the security, but it's going to be like a passive presence at the same time where the kids are just they're going to know it's school. So I think, but when an officer needs to go there or just needs to get a little information, if just maybe somebody's really crossing the line, a student maybe where they shouldn't, it does happen, unfortunately, you know, there's just maybe someone to contact that could kind of just be more relevant to speak to and just, you know, have a better relationship. So best of luck with that.
It's a
Thank you.
better alternative than arming teachers.
Yeah,
Which
I
has
spoke
been-
against that at the meeting. as the son of two retired teachers,
Yeah, we wouldn't want Bill to have it.
I mean, you know, anybody that knows my father and our family knows we've had guns, you know, since we were kids. My father was an avid sport shooter for years, but there's a big difference between carrying a weapon around, shooting it at targets, and being able to reconcile in your mind ahead of time that you may be taking somebody's life. Tiger knows that feeling, being in the military. I first experienced it being in the military, and for the last 26 and a half years in this job. That's the absolute last thing you want to do, as Dennis can tell you, but you have to be ready for that. And we train for it. That's part of our job. That's part of our psyche. It's part of everything we do. Whereas the teachers, you know, yourself as a retired teacher, you want to focus on teaching the kids, loving the kids, and helping them to grow up, not worrying about whether you can aim and take a guy out who's rushing at you with a shotgun or a rifle or something.
Right.
So I'm totally against it.
I am
I
as
would
well.
much rather beef
Yes.
up our police presence. I think we've had a good thing started with the uniforms and stuff that we have now with officers, a much softer presence than, you know, going in with military BDUs and rifles and shotguns. They become part of the culture at the school, and I think these Class 3s will go a long way to help foster that relationship. What did I say, 2?
Yeah.
No, Class 3,
Correct.
sorry. Thank you.
Thank you. Rick?
I assume we're going to wait till council comments to remark on the fact that this is Ed's final council meeting?
Yeah, or we can do it now if you want.
I figured the longer we drug it out, the longer we have to
Public
stay here.
What's that, Karen?
You have to open up for public.
I know,
Public comment?
yeah, I know that.
Save the best for last.
Well,
People have been waiting a
I
while.
want a motion to adjourn. Now, again, with what Dennis and council has said about the Class 3s, to going into our schools, Bill, Jimmy's dad, was my school teacher, and I think the Class 3s are the way to go. I believe we can do that. I believe, and you don't hear this many times, and, you know, Tiger will attest to that, and Jimmy and John will attest to it, and I know Ed will attest to it. It goes, it's a little bit of money we can spend for our children, and, you know, and I don't want to spend any at all times, but I also want everybody to be safe out there. You know, you come to me with, or this council, with bulletproof vests, guns, special fire suits, you know, I have no problem with it. You, John, with his equipment and stuff like that, we need to keep this city going forward, and these guys up here are the best at what they do, but not catching, I see that. You know, I put both these tables together, and I'd go up against anybody. And I think they're the best. So that's my comment for those guys. I want to open it up to the public right now. Come up and talk about anything you want to talk about. Lynn, come on up. State your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Linda DeVoli. I live at 329 Gold Cove. Okay, I'm really upset about what's going on with the foxes here, and I do believe that these people are squeaking into our front beach and poisoning them at nighttime. Okay? After the hurricane, I counted 11 or 12 foxes down the south end, and something went on in January 2016, and they all disappeared within a 2-week period, along with a lot of the dune kitties that you saw. Some of my mom's cats she feeds on Ocean Avenue disappeared, and I did see some of the green trucks going onto the beach at nighttime. So I think there's a problem there, you know, with them coming in and killing the foxes on the south end. But I don't think the federal government is aware of the fact that all the number of animals that they're killing, because this goes on all up and down the East Coast. Cape Hatteras, they were gassing them in their dens during the day. A rumor had it they were over on Little Beach gassing the foxes during the daytime, and I mean, they literally just hate any other animal except for, you know, the piping plover. So I don't really know what can be done about it unless maybe get into the federal government and let them know exactly what's going on and,
Well, we're certainly going to make them aware that we're aware of what's going on.
Yeah.
And anybody that doesn't know Linda DeVoli, I know Linda all my life, best surfer that Brigantine ever put out. She's always outside in the nature and everything like that, so she knows what's going on in those dunes, she knows what's going on in that beach, and she knows what's going on in that Back Bay. Probably one of the best fishermen, or fisherwoman, that we ever have in Brigantine, so she's knowledgeable and she loves nature. So anything you can come up with that we can, parlay into, with our Brigantine government, we will definitely take a look at it, and, because I'm appalled, like I've been saying, about anything getting killed down there, especially poisoned or whatever. I understand the pike and clovers have to be protected, and they just have to build a better cage around the eggs and everything, so, but doesn't mean you just go out and kill the foxes and other animals. And I never even thought about what Councilman Reardon said when, the bald eagles out there, we've seen bald eagles out there, we've seen the snow owls, and they go over and pick on the carcasses, and they get that poison in them themselves. So we'd possibly be killing bald eagles, the white owl we have out there, snow owl, which is beautiful. My has took care of some pictures out there, and that owl is absolutely gorgeous out there.
Yeah, there's one on Club Drive too. He's been there all winter.
Okay, great.
Yeah, he's
So,
sitting there, so.
but I appreciate you bringing us some evidence. And then
Okay.
we're gonna,
There's another thing, 2 years ago, when they left, I followed the path up down the north end, and I counted 22 of those snare traps, and everywhere there was a snare trap, there was a little orange ribbon tied on a branch, and I did notice some of those orange ribbons tied on branches down by the cove. Okay, and those foxes at the cove are gone. So,
well,
there's
that's our property, so
Yeah.
they'll be hearing from us.
Yeah, a couple other people were supposed to come tonight, but I guess the
With the
weather
snow
and
and everything
everything.
else.
I think the
There's
weather.
one guy, Steve, and he claims that he saw one of their green trucks, and they have the white lights on the roof like our Brigantine police cars have, going along the dunes in January of 2016, shining the lights up in the dunes. So I think they're snooping around on Brigantine property.
If those people want to come, if it's a nicer day or night, next council meeting, which
Yeah.
is 2 weeks from tonight,
Okay,
they're certainly welcome to come and speak their mind.
okay.
Yeah, this is just the start. I mean, we're so angry and aggravated over it, so this is just the start of something going on.
Oh, when they take a little female fox off the beach in 2006, and it was quite obvious she had cubs up there, just looking at her. And they took her away, and I confronted the guy the next day, and he started, well, ma'am, it's not a natural environment for them. There's no fresh water. And I said, she's got babies up in the dunes. He couldn't care less.
Yeah.
They hate them, and then they're bringing bands of college kids in from South Carolina, and, they're brainwashing them, The one girl said to me, I hate foxes, I'll kill them all. 20 years old, so.
And Linda, I know I see you like fishing sometimes when I'm running along the beach, I bump into you. At the south end, like near dusk, if I'm ever getting like a late run in or something like that, you would see a lot of them near dusk. Now,
Yeah.
have you had a chance closer to the south? I used to see a lot of them, actually, I guess is
Yeah.
my point.
Yeah.
Have you seen many, have you had an opportunity to be up there
They're
at that
starting to
time?
make a little comeback.
Yeah?
They must have not, got all of them.
Okay.
I know of 4 for a fact that are out there, and, there's some footprints, but after January of 2016, my friend Marlene and I, we walked those dunes from 38th Street to the jetty, and there were no footprints of any kind of critter.
Yeah. And we used to also have litters right by 26th Street, right there.
Yeah.
We used to see a couple of litters with the little babies, they'd be right out there in the trail with the mother.
Yeah, one used to come and sit on my mom's back porch, and,
Mm-hmm.
you know, she thought that was wonderful. But,
Yeah.
I don't know.
I was curious, though, about that south end, because there used to be plenty of them up there. I haven't been up there recently, but I was just thinking about that, too. I said, you know what? I said, a couple of my later runs, I haven't noticed any of them up there neither that much. They would almost follow you. If you're running northbound, they would just kind of trot along the dunes and kind of follow you down, thinking that maybe you got a little food for them or something.
And there's a woman, Gail, I didn't have her number, she walks her dog on the beach, and around that same time period in January, she said she saw a dead fox on Ross Drive. So, I mean, something went on, you know, then.
Well, it's a little difficult for us to tell people what they can do on their own property down in the north end, like the state of New Jersey. But we certainly could tell them, don't kill our foxes on our properties, which is the rest of Brigantine.
Yeah, if you'd say, you know, we have good suspicion of what you're doing on
Well,
our
we
property.
can pass an ordinance and not allow, you know, foxes.
Problem
to be
is,
killed.
I think there's some congressional legislation or something that allows predator management. You know, it allows it on state land. I don't know if it allow it on local land. You're familiar with that, Ed, at all?
Fred and I spoke a little bit, and Fred's gonna look at, you know, what possibilities are for us to restrict that action. But correct, the Endangered Species Act supposedly allows predator management, but we will look into it, and I hope there's a difference in what we can do, at least for property that is within the city of Brigantine.
Yeah. You know, there was a representative from the Audubon Society there the other night, last week at the meeting, and one of the things I found out afterwards, that there's 588 species of birds in North America, and the Audubon Society, they've declared 54% of the birds in North America endangered, 314 out of 588. So, I mean, it's over the top.
Yeah, it's a little frightening when you say that they're like indoctrinating some of these students, too. I mean, it's sad and, you know, but the fact that they're just almost training them.
Yeah, well,
as to
before
how
they
want them to
started
think.
driving up on the dunes down there and traipsing around and setting traps and everything, you know, there were a lot more nests down there. And now you've got all these people down there, and they're putting the big cages on them and everything. I think they're spooking them. You know?
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Linda, for
Anyway,
coming
thank you
out
very
tonight
much.
on
Thanks,
a
Linda.
nasty
Yeah.
night on Northeastern and snow and everything else. We certainly appreciate it. Okay, I see nobody else in the audience that wants to come up and speak. So we're going to close that portion of it, and we're going to go to public, council comments. So anybody in council wants to speak up? Wish Ed a happy
Happy new job.
venture, whatever. So, Karen, you
All right,
wanna-
I'll start.
I guess we're all going to say something.
Ed, you're a treasure. Our losses ventures gain, and I'm sure you will do great work down there and get them in shape like you've gotten us in great shape. Thank you for all the work you've done. Thanks for working with all of us and always being there. Roxanne, watch out, I'm coming in every Tuesday morning.
I've seen you, Karen, already.
Good luck, and I'm sure your family will be happy, you'll be a little more relaxed, and
Thank you.
Mike?
What can I say that I haven't said already? You're the best, and we're going to miss you, and thank you for everything.
Thank you, Mike.
Dennis?
Ed, you're, first and foremost, you're an awesome friend. We've raised our kids together since they're just little ones, and so many great memories. So I'll always cherish that and value that, but I'm definitely, I know I speak for all of us, we're definitely going to miss your professional approach and your knowledge and your dedication and intelligence and just your ability to handle people. It's second to none. So, yeah. Gonna miss you, not seeing you come in here, but I'll still be able to have a cold one with you, so. I wish you well. Good luck.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Dennis.
Mike. Thank you.
Rick?
Ed, I know you're new to this, you know, leaving a job and taking another job. So the way this works is that after we get done praising you, you're supposed to then give it back to us, how good it was to work with us. And so you might want to work on that while the rest of us are speaking. You may remember when you first came on as city manager, I said words to the effect that I want you to succeed. There was apparently some question about whether that was true or not at the time, but I said it then, I meant it. I wanted you to succeed because if you succeed, we succeed. And you have succeeded, and it has redounded to our benefit. Of course, now it redounds to vendors' benefit, which kind of throws the whole pattern off, but it's a good move for you, and I respect that. The only question I have, and it's kind of too late for that, is that to the extent that your new position entails overseeing any portion of their Public Works Department and working with Public Works, you're going against the gold standard. You're going to be at best second place. But best of luck.
And I acknowledge that, and I've already told John that I will be leaning on him heavily. So, thank you, Rick.
Ed, I have to say, you're one of the most honorable people I have ever had the pleasure of knowing and working with. I can tell you that all of our lives are better for knowing you. This city is better for your efforts. And I know I'm excited to have Roxanne here, but I know that you have set a bar that will be very, very tough to beat. But I know Roxanne's competitive, and she said she can double anything you've ever done. So Ed, thank you for your service, and thank you for your friendship.
Speaking of a bar, let's all go down to this Cove, and the first round's on me. Ed, as you know, we duked it out sometimes, but it was always for the better of Brigantine. We didn't do it for selfish reasons. We didn't do it for reasons that we didn't like each other. I actually made a comment to a friend of mine, a friend of yours. He goes, me and Andy just ain't getting along. The worst part about it is he's always right. And I took that as the best compliment you could ever give me. So I'm going to miss you. City's going to miss you. And this door is always open if you ever want to come back.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you all for the nice words, and the feeling is mutual. It has been my pleasure to work with all of you. It has been a fantastic experience for me, great growing opportunity for me, and I have learned a lot from all of you, and together I think we've done some very good things, and Brigantine has a great workforce, great group of employees, certainly very good department heads and leadership, and I think you as council kind of lead the way, and they are right behind you, and all are fantastic. So Brigantine, as difficult as it is for me to take another opportunity, I know that I leave Brigantine in fantastic hands, and that makes it easier for me. So I appreciate it. I really do appreciate the opportunity, because you kind of went out on a limb for me to give me this position and give me the opportunity, and I do appreciate that very much. And but it's been a very good experience. It's been great to work with you. It's been great to work with everybody here in Brigantine, and I wish you all the best. Thank you.
Did you show him how to wear his glasses up like that?
And ugly ties.
You got to learn to wear your glasses up on your head.
And Roxanne, when
Okay.
Andy says the door is always open, Ed, don't take that personally.
I'd be happy to hold the spot.
Keep his seat
Okay,
warm.
now if we all could get rid of Fred, we'll be in good shape.
I still
Was
like
it
you,
like
Fred.
one?
Any true word he said in jest.
Chief Bennett, you're taking notes on all this, right?
Again, everybody's welcome down the Cove. We'll have experience a simp down there, and a couple of beers, or in your case, Tiger, we'll get some water for you. And you're all welcome down there, and it's on me, including you, Rick. You want to stop down?
Of course you would make that offer during the land when I don't train.
Yeah, okay. Okay. I just want to tell you, there's a record set tonight. I talked more than Phil Gunther ever did tonight.
You absolutely did.
And I'm surprised that nobody's broken my wagon about this yet.
I keep checking my
A
watch.
little later.
Yeah. So,
I ran a timer.
so I'm sure I'll be getting a call from the mayor tomorrow morning and telling me that, so. So I need a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Okay, thank you for everybody tuning in and watching your council at work. Thank you.